Hi, everybody. Welcome to Creative Academy office hours for Monday, Labor Day. Happy long weekend. It is September 3rd, all of a sudden, and here we are in what's about to be fall. So Bonnie, you are the promptest, earliest one in on this holiday office hours. So we are going to dive into your questions. You had some questions around logo stuff, right? And also around prepping some website content for the Fiverr guy, whoever that shall be. All right, so I'm going to just pull up the file that you had sent.
So I sent a lot of files. Yeah.
You did. So the screenshot of the color, I'm assuming that's just to show what the color is.
Yeah, and
right?
to find out from you if that can give me the hex code or not. Like, I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't read it.
Okay, perfect. So I can show you that first. That's an excellent starting place. Let me just share the screen so you all can see what I can see. Okay, so you see this little hashtag here, the number sign?
Yes.
Okay, so the number sign and the stuff that comes after it, that is your hex code.
And it looks like there's capitals and oh no, so it's 10.
So it's 10 little c 6 small f 3.
Thank you.
That is your color. So then when you talk about copying your hex code values to somewhere, we're talking about this. And as long as you put a hashtag in front of it or a number sign in front of it and then that, and you hand it to a designer, they'll know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's your color code. Now this other stuff here, CMYK, when you're doing a print product with something and you're using CMYK color, then this is the value of your blue in CMYK colors. And same thing here where you see RGB. When we talk about using RGB color for digital stuff, these are the RGB values. So it's a good idea once you've settled on a color that you want to copy all three of these. And you would just list this as C equals 65%, M equals 0, Y equals 1, K equals 0, for example, under CMYK. And then same for RGB, just make sure you put like R and then the value, G and then the value. And then people, whoever it is you're sharing with, will see that, okay, this is what's associated. And if you have all three of those, then no matter what you're designing, you can cover those. Don't worry about these other ones. They're not as commonly used. So.
Okay, great. So this is one of the colors, and it just happens to be the one she gave me the screenshot of. But there's really two colors, and then I just would like to know if you think the logo, the font is too, like what you think of the font. If there's something I can. Okay, so right. So the top one is the actual font with the large capitals and small capitals.
Okay.
The colors I'm trying to decide between are the color of that one and the color below it.
So this one or this one.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, like, do you think that this is in general too light? Like, I mean, I just like some feedback.
Sure. Okay. So both of these will work, I think, equally well color-wise, depending on what else you want in your palette. So that would be the thing is, we're never deciding on a color all alone. There's always what else is going to go with it. So are you thinking like this blue and then a black and white as your sort of base colors, or is there another color that you think you might use with it?
I don't think for now I want to use any more color, like, black and white, where it occurred to the person that I was working with that the lighter one, the second one might be nicer with a gray or charcoal as opposed to a black. And maybe the top one too, but I don't think quite as much. Do you?
Yeah, I think with a charcoal and a darker blue, you're not going to get the contrast. So it's not going to be enough difference. Yeah, so I think either of these could work, but they will lend themselves to a slightly different palette to work with them. So that's, a good practice is to put little squares, like take out your Word document, make little squares, and then turn those squares into the colors that would go with it, just so that you can see exactly how they all sit together, and then see if one of those feels better to you than the other.
Do you have an idea for a color for the top one to go with? Or like, you know, like because I don't want anything, I just don't want to really like I just want it really simple, you know, like
Mm.
it's very, very simple. So, like the top one, do you think that black would be okay, or just would be kind of dull and boring?
Well, I think you're like when you're looking at designing around a website or handouts, like you don't want it too crazy because you're
Right,
looking at printing, and a lot of people are going to print it in black and white if it's a handout, right?
right.
So, and really, you don't want to use a ton of colored font on your website. You want the main text to be clear and crisp and easily readable, and making that black is a good, or at least a really dark gray is a good place to go. And so, I would say the way to decide that is to make a square and then put your blue in it, and then make another square that's black right beside it, and then another square that's white, and another square that's maybe a dark gray on the other side, and just see which of the two feel best to you.
Okay. And what does the lighter color say versus the darker color in your estimation?
What does it say? One of them feels a little softer. I I think my preference is often the richer colors, so I'm not a very impartial sort of judge on
Mhm.
that. But I like the contrast possibilities of the slightly darker blue. In terms of if you use that as a background, your option to have white print against it that's showing up nicely seems better. But you may want to present both of these options to your web designer and say, what do you think? Like in terms of building around this, how
Okay.
does this feel?
Okay.
Yeah, your biggest thing is testing how it looks in black and white as well as how it looks in color. So,
Okay.
um, you
And
know,
when you talk about color, Crystal, I just want, so I'm just understanding. So besides the font being the color that it is, you're talking about then bringing this color in some other places, like in the place where the tabs are, maybe
yeah,
having blue with white or something like that. That's what you're referring
right.
to.
So when
Okay.
you pick a palette, that filters out into all of your materials. If you have a little underline under a header, or if you have the tabs on your website, or you have a little footer box on a social media image or whatever, then you know the colors you pick as your palette trickle out into everything else, and the color that your logo is should be part of that palette and or should fit with the whole palette. So some people would just have a logo typed name, and the name would be in black or gray, but the font is the piece of the brand that gets pulled into the other places. And then they might use different colors, like maybe you have a featured color that's for your middle grade stuff and one that's for your adult stuff, as part of a way to make that clear. Does that make sense a little bit?
So I'm sorry. So the font would be the part that was consistent. That was the sort of logo part, as opposed to the font and the color.
Right.
Is that what you're
So
saying?
yeah, so I'm just going to show you the back end of a website page here for a second, to kind of show you what I mean. Which will hopefully illustrate what I'm going to try and illustrate. So yeah, the biggest thing is you want to decide on a title font and a body copy font. Have you worked through the tutorials on branding in the branding section?
Yeah, I think I've worked through all of them. Maybe not all of them. I think I did though.
Okay. So just double
But
checking
you
there.
can send
But
me back there.
yeah, okay. Sorry, it'll take me a sec to pull this up. I can. Okay. You'll all be pleased to know I have just the hardest time finding my own passwords, as you all do. Okay. Can you see my website dashboard now?
No, not yet.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
let's try that again.
There we go.
Okay, great. So there's a couple ways to make your branding populate out. So one of them is through font choices, right? So these are the two fonts. There's Soria and Allura, I think, are the two that are used throughout. One of them is always on the River's End romance sort of titles, and the others from the witchy stuff. But color-wise, the palette has 5 colors in it. But the red is always a River's End romances, and the purple is always with the Touch of Magic stuff. So you'll be looking at, and when I say like your logo can be flexible and neutral, and then your stuff can use the palette colors, that's what I mean. That maybe you actually have 2 blues and a gray as part of your palette, or a blue and a gold and a gray, or whatever it is that ends up coming together for you. And then you use those in different combinations. There might be a featured one of the blues that always indicates it's middle grade, and a featured blue that always indicates it's an adult title.
I see.
Right?
And then you really have 3 different fonts, right? Because you have the CJ Hunt and the romance, and then the text itself in the
right
inside is something different.
Yeah, so I actually use Palatino as my I call it a neutral font. My website is currently being done over a little bit, so some of the fonts on the text parts don't match that yet, but you'll see on the covers there's Palatino and Allura and Soria, but there's only ever one or the other of the fancy ones, not both.
Mm-hmm.
Like the neutral one goes with the fancy one, if that makes sense. Because you don't want 2 fancy ones together too often, because then it gets to be a bit much. So yeah. Anyway, for you, I think your I like the cleanness of that font that you have. I'm just going to pull it up again, go back into our thing here. So you had your 2 files in here, Bonnie. One was
they were just both showing, they were showing each one, the light one and the dark one, in the actual font. That's the only difference.
Oh, okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, what was it that drew you to these? That would be a more important question, is like, in terms of the colors, not what do they mean to me, but what do they mean to you? Like, is there a significance of specific tones of blue? Or it was just that you really liked them, or what was it that brought you to those?
I had someone help me. I had someone work on this with me that I know really well, and they were the ones that she chose. She gave me 3 to choose from, and these are the top. Those are 2 were the ones that I felt were, what I liked. I guess I'm also wondering, do you think they should be bolded a little more? Are they okay the way they are? I mean, what I like about them is they're serif and they're clean. And
Yep.
And I'm a simple gal. I don't want anything too busy or anything. The blue is just only because, like I said, there is some Jewish content that runs through a lot of what I write, but not everything. So I thought that would be just I don't know. I just thought, well, that's the only thing I could think of that was color-wise connecting anything. So that's what I went to. My eyes are blue. So, I mean, there's blues in my life, and the ocean is my very favorite place to be. So Perfect. I guess it works. That's fine.
Yeah.
Then, in some ways I want it to be as neutral as possible, because I'm writing all over the place, and I don't want to, I don't want to limit myself. I kind of see that this is going to be a process. Like, I'm not ready to have a tagline yet, but I may become ready to have a tagline later, so this is like the for now version, as I get ready to do this first process, but I don't think of this as my final thing.
Right. So, I mean, if that's the case, I would suggest you go towards either the top or bottom blue.
Okay.
or just make sure you're really clear with the web designer when you hand it over that this may change, because if they match palette around this brighter blue, that's going to be a lot more kind of in your face and won't work as well if you switch it up in your logo down the line.
Okay, well then that answers it. I will definitely use the top blue.
Okay.
The bottom blue feels a little purpley to me, so that's why
it comes across as a violet almost, for sure. Yeah. So I personally, I like the top one. I mean, I like both of them, and I think you could integrate elements in there, but if you're looking for most adaptable, and in terms of what other colors it goes with, then I would say definitely that first one is going to be more flexible palette-wise.
Okay, great. That'll be perfect for now. And I like the idea that I could possibly just use I don't even have to use it as my color in my name on the top. It could just be that I use that color around the rest of it.
Yes, you could just use it as an accent piece. Like some people just use black, gray, and white and then have occasional pops of color for, emphasis where they want it. So, you don't have to have your whole logo name in that, or maybe you have, just the B and the G in the blue, and then your complementary neutral color, whatever you've chosen, is what fills out the rest of the letters. Like there's lots of room to play with that.
Okay, great. Yeah. Okay, perfect. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. And then your last question was the questionnaire, right? Did you have a specific piece you were hoping for feedback on?
Well, a couple of things actually. So one was I have these, well, first of all, I'm totally embarrassed that I don't know the difference between my WordPress, login information and my site, my actual website information.
Well, if you are on publicly hosted WordPress, then there won't be a difference. It'll be the same thing. But if you have a private, like if you've installed WordPress on a private server, then it will be a different thing.
Okay. Yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to know for sure was the name of that service that you talk about that's not MailChimp and not Aweber.
Oh, MailerLite. Yeah.
MailerLiGHT?
LITE.
Okay, and so I can ask to have that instead. That'll be better.
Yeah, I mean MailChimp is equally good. It's just we don't have as many tutorials for that. So if what you're looking for is kind of extra support, then using MailerLite will mean that all of the tutorials that I've built will work for you. And they are like 6 of one, half dozen of another. Like they are very good, solid services. A lot of authors find MailerLite easier to use. So.
Well, I'm all for easier. And then I was looking at my site keywords. Can you just, I don't know, is books really a site key word or not really?
Yeah. I mean, you've got, yeah, for sure. I mean, we want to cover all the bases in here, and then they just get worked into your content for the pages. And if they've installed the SEO plugin for them, you're going to specifically use more narrowed down keywords on the different pages. So
that sounds more complicated than what I'm
yeah, for now all you're doing is just you're trying to identify where your focus is, so that as you're writing the content or as the person is putting together your website, it gives them a hint of where you're going direction wise for that.
Okay. And then can you just scroll down a little further the other way? Yeah. So this was my sort of breakdown for, I've been looking at other people's websites and they don't seem to have they might only have like 2 or 3 photos of themselves. So I think I've overdone the number of photos, but I guess I can deal with that later.
It's not a bad idea to have one on each page, to be honest. Like you're trying to get them to know you. Some people have it as part of their logo or like something that recurs, but it'll depend how it's built. I mean, you don't necessarily want the feature image on every page to be your face, but if it fits naturally in a spot, or if you've got a sidebar thing that recurs and it has your face and an invitation to join your newsletter list to get your free stuff or whatever, then that can work. It's how it fits as part of the package, and that's part of what they should be helping you with.
Okay. And is this the kind of, is this place, oh, here, that's my login stuff. So
Oh,
let's leave it.
sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. I shouldn't have probably put it up there. But is there, in terms of picking author photos, do you guys do that here, or is that a different thing?
Sorry, as far as
Choosing the photos to use, the images.
you should pick the ones you have, and then you should put those in to the folder of images you hand over to the person who's going to.
And give them choices.
Yeah, because they can then match the best ones. If you have a specific one you want on a specific page, then you would label them and you would put the name of the file name in here beside where you wanted it. And then you just need to make sure, like here where it says verbiage on use of resources, you need to actually write that.
Right.
So,
right.
You know, whatever is going to be used should be, this is the title, this is what it is, and this is how I want it used, if you have an idea about that. And if you don't, then tell them as much as you can, like, you know, this is the text that I have, but it can be adapted if it needs to fit the space or the tool or whatever. Like, as long as they know where you're flexible and where you're not, that will help them decide.
Okay, that helps a lot. I think I just needed to know, like, what else, what's next, like the next part of doing this and getting it ready. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, and so also don't just send them this with all your access info in it, and I would suggest you do delete it from Glip, but just you can keep that part and just do like a save as, and then only give them what they actually need. You don't want to give them more access info than they need to have, basically.
Okay, so I let them ask me I let them tell me what they need, and then I give it away. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you that Glip for me?
Can I what? Sorry?
Can you take that out of Glip for me now?
I don't think it will let me. It's your file. You
okay. All right, so, I'll do it. Thank you.
I could delete the whole post with all of those if you want.
Sure. That's helpful. Don't you think? Just get rid of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Maybe it is one by one. Let's see here. There we go. Deleted. We can leave your color there in your logo if you like. That's not.
Thank you, Crystal.
You're welcome. Okay. So
I just lost you there for about 10 minutes. I don't know what happened.
Yep, you're back. That's good. You timed it perfectly.
Oh, did I? Oh, good.
I think probably it's a holiday and the whole world is on the internet right now.
Ah, true.
Cramming all their video gaming in until they're back to school tomorrow.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so Marianne, if you have any specific questions, if you can drop them in the chat. I'm just working my way down the list here, and then I'll have a sense of how the time is going and how much is coming back. Chris, I can quickly answer your last question, which was how you direct sell from your website for audiobooks.
Right.
So there's a couple answers to that. Always you can set up an online store using whatever tools you want. It creates all kinds of other issues, like your website has to become uber secure if you're processing payments right on your own site. And you then have to manage all the tech support for anybody who's purchasing from you and some things like that. So one of the options that will be available is not yet to the public, but I'm part of a beta program with Findaway Voices right now where they set up an audio store for you using Shopify as a base platform. And then they upload your products for you and everything. You can set your prices and whatever on your own, but it makes you your own audio store.
Yeah, so I've heard of this. Mark Lefebvre's, I think, another one.
Another beta tester, yeah.
I'm volunteering to do it, but I can't get them to get back to me at the moment. So
yeah, I think they're just about to like properly roll it out, but it's not. I don't know how keen they are on picking up anyone. I don't know if you have to have a certain number of titles to make it functional as a starting place. So I do know that it doesn't work in Canada right now. So like I can set it up and my American folks can buy it, but nobody else outside of the States can access it. And I couldn't buy a book from my own website at this point, but they are going to open it up internationally once they've got it rolling. That's right in the sort of immediate features list. So that should be coming pretty quick.
That would
Like
be...
by the time you've got books recorded and ready to go and all of that stuff, I think that it's reasonable that that would potentially be an option. The other option is that BookFunnel has not officially confirmed, but I have rumors and reason to believe that they will have audiobook delivery coming soon. And BookFunnel integrates with Patreon. So you can actually deliver your print books via BookFunnel to your Patreon subscribers as well. And that's another way to not handle payment processing, but you could set up a Patreon whereby your subscribers get things at X amount per release that way. So then you would be able to have Patreon handling payment, BookFunnel handling delivery. Yeah.
But that's being rolled out. That's not out yet.
It's not out yet. I think all of this stuff, because the audio is really just kicking up, right? So a lot of this stuff is going to roll out, I would guess, in about January.
Right.
Some of it, like the author direct stores, I think will be available sooner than that. I would guess like maybe October, but that's totally me ballparking. I don't actually know the public rollout side. So.
Right. So Findaway will charge a percentage for that service as they do for selling any audiobooks.
Right. So and I forget what the percentage is. I want to say 70-30 or something like that, but you keep 70 as opposed to with the other platforms where things are sold, you keep a lot less than 70.
A lot less. Yeah. Okay. With Patreon, can you charge, does it have to be just a date time thing? Can it be, you know, they pay you a certain amount per month, or can it be per item?
It's per month or per item, either one, but you can't do both, and you can't have differential amounts on the per items, because I just asked them about that. They said, no, it's like it's $2.99 per thing that you release, or $4.99 per thing that you release, or whatever it is, but you can't have like some things at $1.99 and some at $4.99. It has to be the same, and then each item that comes out. I mean, again, I can anticipate that being a feature ad, because I know I'm not the only person who's been asking them about that. So, you know, keep your eye on the Patreon blog. I don't know if you're a subscriber or not, but they send out updates constantly, and they are adding new features like every month. So
my brain's having trouble keeping up with everything that's being discussed, but you're doing your audios with Findaway Voices?
Yeah.
Which means you're paying up front.
Yeah.
It's not split royalty.
No.
Okay. That's the problem with that for me.
Yeah, you write freaking long books. So it gets really expensive when you go to do audio.
Huge barrier to entry.
It is, for sure. So if you, and you know, I've got a few other friends who are navigating this right now. If you write long books, then you might be looking at a $2,500 or $100 plus bill to have your audio recorded. So
well, I'm wondering if I should experiment with ACX split royalty just to get one or just one out there and see.
Yeah, exactly. And that totally makes sense. Like, you know, I'm using Findaway because it's going to work for me the way that my system works, but that is not going to work for everybody. And, you know, that big amount of outlay in the beginning can be super stressful, and, you know, it's not a good way to test things. And so,
no, and I mean, there's just not enough revenue to justify that kind of an indulgence.
No. So ACX is a great way to get things rolling, and you can always take your royalties from that and then reapply them to, you know, another book if you want to test out the other way. You may just find that you love being exclusive to Amazon because you get a higher royalty, and you get bounties of like $75 if somebody clicks on your get a free version of my book link and goes to Audible, and then your book is the first one that they choose. You get a $75 bounty for that.
Oh, all right.
Yeah. So a lot of people are actually making their money off new subscribers to Audible. It's not even through sales of their own book. But.
No, and it also just expands your footprint a little bit into different media. And
yeah, but if you're looking at a choice of like, oh, I got to wait for like 5 years to save enough royalties to get an audiobook out there, you might as well test it with something that's sort of a zero risk gamble.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you are signing a contract for 7 years, but you can decide to buy out that narrator if you find it's all going gangbusters and suddenly you're flush and you want to control those rights yourself and do other things with the files, then you can buy them out at that point, if that makes sense to you.
But even if it's just one of my books, you know, I'm potentially tapping into a new market that I wouldn't otherwise be able to access.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
And
might
it does
lose
help.
something from that.
It helps boost your rankings on Amazon, and you know the click-through rates go up because people who are looking for audiobooks see that those are there as well. And yeah, it does all kinds of interesting things for your algorithms and such. Ooh, just lost Chris again.
Gone.
Okay. I'm going to, let's see, jump then away from Chris's questions till he pops back. Okay, Marianne, I had a question re cleaning Booksprout ARCs who didn't leave reviews. Does upgrading account help? Any other strategies? So you don't have to clean your account. It's just when you upload the next one, you say block anybody who didn't leave a review on the last book. There's like a box to check.
Is that an option with the free account?
Yeah, it's the option in all of them.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
So,
Let's double check.
Hmm.
Do you want to like? Let's see.
my numbers are pretty small.
Yeah.
I think I had anywhere from 15 to 20 downloads of the 3. I don't know what's the limit for the free account. It's
20, I think.
20. So it was something in that range but I didn't get great stats.
Yeah.
I mean, I could give more away, but I'm not super impressed with the number of reviews I'm getting. And I don't know whether it's just that those readers are still getting around to reading the book, or whether they didn't like it, or, I mean,
yeah.
So I mean, some of them follow my newsletter and they've taken all 3 books. So I don't know. I can't really deduce anything from that.
Right. Well, so one of the things just to keep in mind is that this Booksprout was started by erotica writers, right? Like the people who made Booksprout are hardcore, traditional romance / erotica is definitely the focus.
Maybe not a good fit with the people hanging out.
Yeah, it may just be that, the readers are downloading and it's not quite fitting their genre expectations or whatever. And so then they're just opting out. And so that is something to consider. It might not be sort of genre-wise the best fit. Did you select the women's fiction category?
I'm sure I did. Yeah. But you were also talking about, I think it was Ken, actually. You were talking about that paid service for getting reviews. What's that called again?
Hidden Gems.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch it.
Hidden Gems.
Hidden Gems. Okay. So you had good luck with that?
I actually hasn't happened yet. It's happening on the 29th of September. I'm signed up and all ready to release my book. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, that might be something different to try for me.
Yeah, you should take a look at it. Some of the categories book up really far in advance. So if you're thinking about it, you want to book well in advance. And if you book really far in advance and then your book's not quite done or something happens, Ken has discovered for us that they are willing, you can use an existing book in your time slot. If you can't get the new one ready in time or whatever, then they are willing to let you adjust. So I would say, book your slot if you think you want to go that direction, because they were quite booked up in advance for.
Okay, well, maybe I'll go on there right away. And the cost was $50 or something?
It's $20 for the reservation, and then you pay per review after that.
Oh, okay.
And I think you can you set a cap, or you set I don't remember how that works. I think you can set a cap of where you're not willing to go past, and then it adjusts based on how many responses.
I think it's set at 50.
Okay. Well, if I had 50 reviews, I'd be happy. So
yeah. So yeah, worth checking out, because I think you could drill down to a more focused group. You pick specifically which genre you wanted to go out in, and they have their lists built in each of those genres, and so it's not like you're gonna be Well, I did get some good reviews from Booksprout. I just don't feel like there's a lot of momentum there. Nothing else has been happening. Well, and nothing will happen until you release your next book, right? And the biggest thing is so with Booksprout, for anybody who's not familiar, you set up your your ARC in Booksprout, you say how many people you're willing to let download those files. Their users download the files and read the book, and then they have to, when you set up your ARC, you say how many of the platforms do they have to leave a review on to count as having sort of done their bit.
I just remembered a slightly more refined version of my original question, which is, if with my free Booksprout account, they've already uploaded the 20, the quota, but half of them have left reviews and the other half are just stagnating. Is there any way to purge those so that I can invite new ARC readers on those same titles? Because the space, or do I have to upgrade my account to get past that blockade?
No, that isn't.
I mean, can I just
you can
throw them out somehow?
Yeah, so it's not about throwing them out. It's not on the current book that you're going to activate that. It's on the next book. So when
can't I?
You can't erase them. It's that many people can download it. So it's not that you can have 20 active reviewers per book. So if 20 people have downloaded it and only 10 of them reviewed, that's that 20. That part's done. You can either pay the $10 a month to upgrade, and then you can unlock more spaces.
Right.
But it's
the
not
only
like,
way.
Yeah, and it's not like you need to purge it like you purge a mailing list. It's just when you set up your next ARC, you check the box that says they cannot download it if they have outstanding ARCs due into you. And then that way, anybody who hasn't posted a review can't download your next book. And that's how you sort of clean the freeloaders.
Yeah. But I can't get any new reviewers on the older books without upgrading to the account.
Without upgrading, yeah. If you've had your 20 downloads, then that's
what's the number with the $10 a month?
The number with the $10 a month is 50 reviewers per ARC. And so you can, The other thing is, the guy who made the tool, Chris, I think his name is, he said, go ahead and upgrade your account for 2 months if that's all you need. If you release 2 books a year, upgrade it for release time and then downgrade it again to free when you're not going to release something for 6 months. He's like, you don't have to commit to a whole year's worth. You just upgrade for when you need it and then you downgrade again.
Oh, okay. Never even thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, most services don't let you, but he's like, I get that some authors are only releasing, 1 book a year, and it doesn't make sense to upgrade for that, for all year round. So, yeah, it was, him saying that on a podcast, so I don't feel like I'm telling you how to cheat the system or anything.
Okay.
But, yeah. So that's an option.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's good. Okay, that gives me a couple of good strategies for getting reviews.
Yeah, and you don't want to have your book available for ARC downloads permanently. You really want to do that for a week or 2 before your book goes live. And then once it goes live, you send out your call for reviews and then you kind of move on. It's because if you've got your books in KU and whatnot, having people available to just download them to ARC from in here becomes kind of an iffy gray area.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's one thing to sort of send a review copy directly to someone on your mailing list or whatever, because you're still allowed
I don't just leave them out there because...
But yeah, they shouldn't just be publicly advertised as a place where you can download it for free, because that may be an issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Chris, we'll see if you make it through the next 4 minutes. We'll jump to your stuff.
Jesus.
I'm going to
I don't know why I keep losing it. My family's got fine internet and mine's not working.
Well, if they're all using it, that might be why.
There you go. All of you go off the internet.
Okay, so Ken wanted to know, if you sell some books at an author signing, do you have to worry about charging and remitting GST or PST? Okay, so back in the olden days, there was no PST on books. There was just GST. Now that it's HST, you know what? We'll have to look this up. I believe that, yes, you are responsible for submitting stuff on your book sales, but only if you're registered for GST. You only need to register if you think you're going to make more than, I think it's currently $30,000 a year through your author business. So if you're not going to make more than that, then you have no need to register, which means you do not have to collect either. Okay, so are you registered for GST? No, so you're good. Until your royalties and your book sales are generating more than 30K a year, you just don't have to worry about that. Yeah.
We are paying tax on our books that we order from CreateSpace or Ingram Spark, though, are we not?
Yeah, check your invoice.
Yeah.
Sometimes they charge their local sales taxes, and sometimes they add GST onto them or whatnot. So if you want to claim back the GST on some of those, then yes, you do need to register in order to be able to do that. But then you do also have to collect on every author visit you do, on every, book that you sell, on everything. So it depends a little bit on how much that tracking time is worth to you and how much physical product you're going to actually order directly. So like if you ordered a set of books from Island Blue, you would have paid GST on that. You could claim that money back at the end of the year if you're registered for GST. So take a look at your own accounting. If you're not ordering print books for yourself, like if you're just ordering the odd author copy here and there and you're using the POD services and sending everybody to buy them from Amazon, then that may not be worth the admin time it's going to take you. But that's kind of a personal decision each one of us must make. And whenever you are doing an event like that, you really want to decide on a round number that just includes the GST if you're going to charge it, so that you're not having to have nickels and dimes and whatever on your sales table at an event, because that's a total pain in the behind. Yeah.
So what else is happening?
Okay, so we need to go back also to Chris's questions. I'm assuming you're still there, just invisible, Chris.
I'm invisible and I was hiding away. Yes, so I'm back.
Okay.
Just made it.
Okay, so you are asking about a few things here.
Yeah, we haven't got time to do them all, Crystal, so don't worry about it. But
well, I don't think I can help you fix your Photoshop. I would guess you just have to wait. It will be a slow download. It's a massive file. If the rest of your family's on your internet, and you're on like Salt Spring, right? So I'm assuming it's not necessarily the highest speed of Wi-Fi's that ever was. There may be some bandwidth competition going on there. But once you get it all downloaded, then it should work. And if it doesn't, then Adobe has tech support to walk you through that. So I would say, start with them because they're usually really good about that. Do you have ads for Plague and Fire that you wanted us to take a look at?
If you'd like, yes. I mean, I don't want to crowd it out because
it's your turn for questions. So.
All right then. Well,
all the other ones.
Let me share the screen then. Yeah, because I've got Plague and Fire are both out basically today on all platforms in the States only. So I wanted to hit some of the social media, and I did have some questions about and have you done an Amazon ads, how to run Amazon ads and why you should do it tutorial yet?
No.
Okay.
If you signed up for Mark Dawson's Ads for Authors course?
No.
Okay, so he's got a free one. I don't know if you've looked at like the Facebook ad stuff or whatever, and he's got a bunch of podcasts he's done on using AMS ads. So I would say like start with that in the meantime. Okay. I haven't run any yet. I did purchase the Ads for Authors course, which was a fair investment.
That's right.
But I'm not going to start running ads until this next batch of new releases comes out in the fall. So it's going to be at least a couple of months before I can sort of speak with what I feel is any kind of authority
okay
on that topic. But I would say check out Mark's podcasts. He's got a couple of sort of master classes on Amazon ads and a couple really good interviews with people who rock the AMS ads. And there's also Kindlepreneur Guy has a free course on Amazon author ads. I don't know if you've taken that.
I was doing that actually. It's been a while now, but I could go back and look at that for sure. Okay, well, I'll just run a couple of ads by you for, and also, of course, I've got the book bub coming up, so I'm going to do some more stuff with Roxy, with Chasing the Wind. So, right, let me just share the screen. Oh, there we all are. So here's, oh, that's my son, yes. So that, oh, hang on, let's not do that one first. Let's do, this is the one I have in mind for plague.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Good. I'd have a couple of suggestions about alignment. So one of the good sort of rules of thumb is if you remember how there was guides in the Photoshop file, the blue thing?
Yep.
So if you can drag a guide so that it's vertical, you see how you've got 3 different sets of text here?
Yep.
And all 3 start at a different spot in the visual field.
Yep.
So ideally you want to drag a guide to about where, well, a tiny bit to the left of where that top one is. If you start with like about an equal distance at the top and the side of white space, and then put that top one and then line everything else up so that it starts on that same line.
Okay, so you drag the guideline, that long blue line, you drag that across and that then becomes your standard.
Right, and then that way you're matching to it, because visually it just helps to have text aligned along a vertical starting place so that when your eye is coming back to the next one, it knows where to go. It just looks a little bit polished. It's kind of like trimming the edges evenly.
Right. I think I didn't do that because the way I've moved this all across, I've moved the tablet all across, but then in order to get this line in, I kind of had to start further over. So
right.
Yeah, that's.
And what I'm thinking is you'd be better to have it as broken up into 3.
Okay.
Rather than 2 that are too long and tight on the sides, because you want the same amount of breathing room between your text and that iPad on the right hand side as you're going to have on the left hand side, so that it looks a little bit balanced. And one of the sort of easiest ways to look more pro at your design work is to leave more space around stuff.
Okay.
It's one of those just give it a little breathing room is how we usually talk about that. And that's something you'll get more comfortable with as you go. But and then same with the bottom one. If you can break up the lines of text so they're a little bit more even. Right now, the first one's really long and the second one's really short. But if you put like first time in USA as one line, you've got a little more room just at the bottom of that iPad. And so the longer line being at the bottom would actually fit the shape of like contour of the iPad.
You mean this for the first time in the USA down here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So available for and then first time drops down. Gotcha. It's going to make your text, like time right now is pretty crunchy up in the corner of that iPad. So that'll just, again, buy you some more breathing room and just make it feel like it flows a little bit more there.
Okay.
Also, did you already say this about the winner of the Arthur Ellis Best Crime Novel? Because that should probably be in like maybe 3 lines.
Yeah.
The winner of, and then Arthur Ellis, and then Best Crime. I don't know what CWA is, but Canada.
Canadian. It's the Crime Writers Association of Canada.
Okay. So yeah, you might make that in a few more lines because it's,
Sure.
And I think you could lose either the Arthur Ellis or the CWA. Like, neither of those are going to mean anything to a lot of random readers. And so if you just pick one, then that's something that leads back. It's like breadcrumbs back to the source of that statement being true, but it doesn't give you impact. And you don't need to say the year. Like you were the winner of that, and there is no requirement to say what year that was.
Okay.
I would keep Arthur Ellis and ditch CWA because an acronym is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm American. I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I've heard of Arthur Ellis many times, but I still didn't know what CWA meant.
Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. So if you ditch CWA and 2015, then you've got more room just to play there.
Right. Good. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that one. There's this one now. If we've got time for one more.
We have 9 whole minutes.
Right. Well, this is where's this one? It must be this one. No. No, that's actually wasn't the one I was going to do.
Oh, and you had 2 ellipses on that last one, Chris, and Bonnie.
On which one?
No, last time.
On this one?
Yeah, you got ellipses at the top and ellipses at the bottom.
And that's
Oh
not good?
yeah, you can't do that. Remember we talked about
Yeah,
that.
you got to pick one.
Why?
Because 2 sets of ellipses just takes away from both of the ones that are there. If you're going to reuse punctuational elements, it's going to take away from what you've already got going on. So I'd say make one of them something else. You didn't use an exclamation mark at all. So technically you have one of those available if you're looking for
Yeah, I would put if you want to do something, you should put the exclamation point after USA, because that's the information, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But even if you don't, I would not use the ellipses in available for the first time in the USA, because it's not really,
It's not leading into anything.
it doesn't really have any impact. Whereas when you say you may need something a little stronger, it's like, oh boy, you know?
Right. Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, that's good. For some reason, I can't find I had fire down here as well, and it's gone, and I can't move it around. So, well, let's just have a look at this one then. Oh, no. Yeah.
Okay, so this one, I would say break the text into 3.
This one
3
here?
lines. And give it some breathing room from the sides, because you got lots of room above that cup. Like in your space there, you've got plenty of workable background room.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Also, can I comment?
Yep.
There's a lot of fonts on this one because the font on the cover is different. It's kind of Art Deco.
Yeah, so is this one actually. This is CMU Serif, and it's the closest I could get to this.
That has no relationship whatsoever to that. That can't be true.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
it doesn't look anything like it at all.
Oh, maybe I haven't changed it yet. I've used CMU Serif, which is the closest.
Well, it is, but that CMU Serif, like the font is not close to the Chasing the Wind font at all.
Oh, right. Okay.
No. And then if the one on the bottom is supposed to be the same, it doesn't look the same because one's squished and the other's stretched.
Yeah.
So it looks a little, you've got the gabbled on thing at the top, and then you've got the title, and then you've got that one, and then you've got the bottom one, and it looks like 6 different fonts or 5 different fonts.
Yeah. So I mean, it works for your cover to just be your cover and that's contained, but if you can have your bottom line and your extra like promo text, if those can be the same font, and don't as Marianne said, don't stretch them and don't squish them. If you need, just go to 3 lines on the top one, and then on the bottom one, it shouldn't fill up all the way to the edges anyway, because
Amazon's too close.
Yeah, exactly. So just let it sit as it is, and leave it a little more compressed. It's not centered either. There's
that's right.
Space on the left and lots on the right. But if you make them both the same font and the same kerning and tracking, so don't squish them together. Don't tighten the space between the letters, and don't muck with that too much. Then they'll at least look the same.
And Chris, I'm like the ellipses person with you. I don't know why. I'm sorry if it's irritating, but I don't think you need the ellipses at all. It's sort of takes away. I would almost say that you could make for a limited time only its own line and maybe have it be capitalized for or just on its own. Because it's confusing because partly it's confusing because you've got a number and a cost, and then you have extra dots behind it, so it's hard to sort of just see what that is.
Right.
And also, am I supposed to know what Roxy is? Is that your character?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of her,
So
right?
what if I've never seen anything by you before? It's just Roxy.
So I just assume people would get it because it's right there, but maybe not. What do you think, Crystal?
Yeah, I would say if you say Roxy is flying into your favorite store, or she'll be flying into your favorite store, or something that would
meet Roxy or something.
Yeah, but some kind of indicator, because it's just a single word and a period. There isn't much context there.
Okay.
If you were gonna put ellipses anywhere after Roxy would make sense. Roxy ... She'll be flying into your,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, but I think we should have one without any ellipses.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Chris.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I like ellipses, but that's okay. I'm willing to have them chopped off.
You like the suspense of it all, right?
I do. I love it.
Anything could come after. However,
I associate ellipses with tentativeness or unfinished business. And if there's any place you want to be bold, I think it's an ad.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I will play with it. I will definitely.
What's Roxy's last name?
Lowen.
Yeah. So even if you put Roxy Lowen flying into your favorite store for 99 cents for a limited time only, then we get that that's a character, I think, in a better way if it's like clearly a whole person's name.
All right. That sounds good. Oh.
I disagree. I'm just saying.
Disagree? Yeah.
Well, only because there's a lot of names then. You've got Roxy Lowen, you've got
fair enough.
Diana Gabaldon, and then you have CC Humphreys. And so I think it's like a lot of different names and they're confusing. To me,
Fair.
just, you know.
So maybe just take Roxy off completely. Just Chasing the Wind is flying into your favorite store for 99 cents.
Okay,
I could just say flying into your favorite store for 99 cents.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like just remove the name, but then we've got the context of the book that's right there.
Right.
So it's implying that the book is what's flying into your favorite store. I mean, she'd be coming along with it since she's on the cover, but
Sure. Yeah.
but there'd be no question about who was doing what and where.
True. Okay. Yeah,
All right.
That's good. All right.
Excellent.
Okay. Well, I'll stop the share now. You guys can answer something else.
2 whole more minutes. I don't know.
I'm sure the moment we hang up, I'll think of something, but not right now.
We just take a couple of minutes. Can I talk with you all about these recorded books you're doing? And sort of when you decide to do them, like how much money are you already, this is kind of a personal question, I guess, so I don't know if it's appropriate to answer it here, but just like how much money are you all making that you're willing to convert money into this other medium that is actually quite costly? I'm not really asking much, but you know.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about that because budgeting is an extremely important part of how you decide what you do next and how you justify, is this worth it? Like looking at your return on investment and everything else. So, I made over Christmas last year, I made $6,000, which I put into a bank account. It was royalties from the book sales last Christmas. And I put that into a bank account to invest in growing the business. So for me, I have that money and I can spend it on things like I hired somebody to make maps for my town. I'm hiring people to do the audiobooks and all of those things. Prior to that, I was only allowed to spend the royalties on paying for the editing, right? Because that was the next book had to get paid for from the previous one. And so I was looking for like a net zero investment. That has been my goal. So anything I make, I'm allowed to reinvest at this point because I'm still keeping my day job to pay the bills on the other side of it. So, you know, everybody will have to kind of make those decisions for themselves, but that was my logic, was I can put the royalties that I made from past sales into an account and then use that as investment. So do you
count? So there's a certain amount of investment up front with editors and if you're self-publishing covers and whatnot. When you say royalties, are you making back what you've already spent first and then it's everything after that, or just that's the cost of business and then you move on from there?
Well, so the royalties is the income, and then the expenses does include editing and things like that. So I don't have $6,000 to spend on audiobooks. I have 3, right? Because I spent the rest of the money on editing and whatever else. And so, you know, yeah, it's tracking that. And I have a tool called Reader Links that I use, and I enter all my expenses for each book, and it tracks all my royalties for each book, and I know exactly what my return on investment is. I put in my ad campaigns if I run any, or any other like software expenses or whatever. That all goes in there, and then I can see exactly if I've made any money on my books or not, right?
Brilliant.
So that's why we have to keep track of these things, right? It's why you need a spreadsheet or a budget or something that tells you what you can and can't safely invest. Because we went through this process with our children's book publishing company a decade ago, and took us a long time to pay back all the money we'd invested in things because we were not working off of a flat line of zero as a kind of a goal for those first few years. So, you know, I've learned from that, and have not wanted to be in that situation again. And so this time around, it's very much, I can invest whatever it is I'm making. And that's, that's pretty much what that means. And so it does mean that I'm not paying a cover designer. I do all the designs myself. I had to set up a system for my branding and my website and whatever that let me do that work, because that wasn't what I felt was the smartest thing for me to spend that money on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, your first book, your first couple of books, you may be going to have to outlay a certain amount. That comes out of my play money, right? If I have a vacation fund or whatever, then I choose to spend that on books that year. That's up to me. So, being aware, it's like going to the casino. If you've got $200 in your pocket, you have to expect that that is gone. Maybe you'll get a return, maybe you won't, but you need to think of it as spent, not invested, because it's really easy to get in that invested mindset and I'm going to get this all back, but then what if you don't? So, just making sure you're not investing or spending more than you can, and more than you're comfortable with walking away from, because it is possible that it will take a few books or a few years or a few whatever for things to catch on, and you never know which is going to be the thing. So I can say for myself, the audiobooks is a gamble. I took a conference speaking fee last year to pay for the first one. And, that's the one that's released 48 hours ago. So I can't tell you yet if it's made any money. But I was looking at it as how much exposure is this going to net me, and what's it going to do to my Amazon rankings, and how's it going to impact the other books, and sort of looking at the whole package. And it made more sense for me to put that $500 for the first one into an audiobook versus doing, ads with it. Because I know that the more products you have in place, the better your ad spend is going to get you a return. And so it's just like a systematic building. Now, that being said, you can ask me again in a couple months and I'll be very honest with you about what the royalty statements look like. The first two books were supposed to launch September 1st. I don't even know if they're out on those other audio stores yet because I just got home. So we'll find out. And I will report back over the next couple of months. But for you looking at budgeting purposes, if you go with Findaway and you have to pay up front, the minimum per finished hour cost you can expect to pay is $150 an hour. And it can go up to like 600 if that's the narrator that you pick. And so every 9,000 words in your book is roughly one finished hour of audio. And so if you're trying to budget what it would cost to do an upfront production of your stuff versus a 50-50 royalty share using ACX, that's the number that you use. If your book is 80,000 words, say, then you would be, if you hired a narrator who was $150 an hour, oh, that math didn't work, did it? Okay, one sec. Divided by 9,000 words. You'd be looking at almost 9 hours. So say 9 times 150, you'd be looking at like $1,350 as your investment that would be required to get that into audio. And if you have a catalog of like 5 books that you want to convert at once to get you started, like Marianne's got a handful of them, then that gets expensive real fast. So, if you write shorter, it makes more sense to get those first couple products into the market for relatively cheap. And then if you can reinvest the royalties off those as it comes in, then you keep that flow going, right? All right. Hopefully that was a helpful example.
Yeah.
But yes, it's mostly about knowing where your boundaries are and then letting things adjust as you scale up. It's really easy to look around you at all these people who are making like 6 figures a year and telling you you have to do this and this and this and this. But until you get your basic products to that point, you want to keep those out-of-pocket expenses to a minimum because you really want to be creating a closed ecosystem where you're creating this regeneration machine where the royalties from here are feeding production over here, which are feeding royalties back into production. And then you get to the point where it's like filling up too much, you can take some out of the edges. But, at the start, it doesn't happen quickly. It takes a little while and it takes a bunch of books and whatever else. So
I screwed up with hidden gems. I looked in here before and I should have grabbed something, I guess. Now I can't get anything till the end of March.
Yeah, they have gone kind of crazy in the last little while. It was like last time I looked, there was still bookings for January, but yeah. And are you in contemporary romance or?
I was looking in women's literature, but I'm wondering whether general fiction, is that a mistake?
I would say don't go general. If you go general on that kind of stuff, you end up with also bots that are completely wrong, and it like skews all of your stuff.
All right, well, I'm stuck.
Yeah, you're better just booking ahead for the next one, like now, whatever you can get, knowing that you will have a book of some kind coming out around then, right? And then
Who
go
knows?
there.
The rate I'm going, I might not get my book out.
Okay, so can you put the link below of the tool you use? And is there a tutorial about this? Which tool, Bonnie? And
the tool you use for tracking your money things?
Oh, okay. So yeah, so it's called Reader Links. It's in the members area under tools, and I think it's also in the publish your book area. We have a coupon through Creative Academy for any of our members. That's not something you, well, take a look at it and see how that investment feels to you. There are a couple other tools. There's one called Dashboard. I just heard it yesterday. It's the one all the books in the 20 books to 50K Facebook group are using.
Dashboard?
It's not that though, but it's something like that. When I remember
when you find it,
I'll drop it into the group.
I don't need it. Yeah, just something so I'm.
But it's free until you make $1,000 a month, so it's a better option.
Yeah, much better.
To start with. Yeah, it's the one you want. And in fact, if you go and listen to the last week's podcast from Mark Dawson, can be all of your homework for tools. He's talking about the top tools for indie authors. They did massive sets of surveys through all their community group and whatever else, and they talk about the book dashboard tool in there. So in that podcast, and there was a few other just really good tools that they talked about. It's a good one to listen to.
And will you do a tutorial? Do you have one about kind of how you put these kinds of things together or thinking about it? Because I think what you talked about is really important.
Yeah, so the audiobook stuff, there's a series of tutorials that we've started rolling out that are in the publish your book section about.
I don't mean the audio. I just mean like in a general way.
Like the budgeting and strategy kind of side of things?
Yes, budgeting strategies for new writers or, whatever. Yeah.
All right, I will put that on the list. There's a couple of workshopy bits about that, like the project planning one. I don't know if you watched the project planning masterclass yet.
I don't know if I have, maybe not.
Okay.
I just think I must not be the only one who has questions about this.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just trying to make sure if we have something already that we send you to it, and you can start there while you wait for me, because it'll be a little while before I can get all the bits. But yeah, but definitely any questions around that are great. And I have another meeting that I am now slightly tardy for, so I am going to dash. And I will make sure I put any of the resources into GLIP that I come across over the next little while. And I'll see you all on Wednesday.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.